Okay, Board Chairman Tapio Mira, we are streaming.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education Finance Committee meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Heather Benavides,
Here.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Here.
Josefina Dominguez,
Here.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Okay. Our first item is to consider adoption of the March 26, 2025 Finance Committee meeting agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move to adopt the March 26, 2025 Finance Committee meeting agenda. This is Board Member Benavides.
This is Board Member Dominguez, and I second.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call?
Chair Romero, we'll need to remove item 5.1.
Guys, I had a note. Thank you. So, members of the committee, before we adopt the agenda, we do need to remove item 5.15 from the agenda. And if I could get another motion for that change, please.
Is it to consider approval of the February 2025 intra-function transfers?
No, it's right under, it's for like the first item, it says 5.1 and then there's 1, 2, so I guess it's 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
5.155, the pre-K 2024,
Yes.
2023? Okay. All right. So I move that we adopt the March 2026, 2025 Finance Committee meeting agenda with the removal of 5.15, the pre-K 2024, 2025, 1.4 million. This is Board Member Benavides.
Board Member Dominguez, I second.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, roll call, please.
Heather Benavides, Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Our next item is to consider approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting on February 26, 2025. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting on February 26, 2025. This is Board Member Benavides.
And I'll second. This is Board Member Dominguez.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, my roll call.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Thank you. Our next item is a fiscal year 26 budget presentation, and our presenters for this is Ms. Apodaca and Ms. Montoya. You have the floor, ladies.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Board Members, Superintendent Blakey, item 4.1 is our second presentation for FY26 budget. And as per the budget calendar, we are looking at SEG projections and information on the Special Education Department. Slide 2 of the presentation has information on full-time equivalents. We did receive a question to add student enrollment, and we will be providing that information in the follow-up Q&As. Slides 3 and 4 are our SEG projection and related expenditures. And now that the legislative session is over, we will get more information and we'll provide that in the follow-up presentations. Slides 6 through 11 is information on special education. It includes funding, positives, challenges, and looking ahead. And we do have representatives from the Special Education Department for questions. So at this point, we do stand for questions. Thank you.
Chair Romero, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Apodaca. Members of the committee, any questions related to this brief presentation? Okay.
I do have a question. I know I had a question about special ed and Chief Financial Officer Apodaca, what anticipated changes do you all expect? And what challenges, what positives are there, what challenges are there, and how will they be addressed? Or is it, I mean, do you have that information yet?
Madam Chair, Board Member Dominguez, I do have Ms. TC Reiser on the Zoom call.
Good morning, Chairperson Romero, Superintendent Blakey, and Member Dominguez. We have covered our positives on page 9 of your slides, and looking specifically at our students with disabilities are receiving additional supports through their ancillary services, and that's going well. Students with motor disabilities or sensory disabilities are receiving assistive tech. And we also talked about increasing opportunities for special education students in the general ed class. Your other question was about changes, and we are seeing about a 2% increase per year in our students with disabilities. We are also expecting to see an increase in our gifted students with a gifted eligibility, although I don't have a percentage on that as the processes have changed through NMPED. And so we'll be managing those as we go. And you had a third question that I believe I missed.
Well, what were the challenges, and how will we address them?
Okay, and the challenge. So, sorry, I missed that one, Member Dominguez. Staffing shortages. You know, I think staffing shortages is an issue that we have across the district, and we are working our best to manage those through our Kelly subservices and additional training. And we have the HR is working on hiring international teachers to help support. And then we do have that increasing number of students each year. And so we have to manage that we do have an increasing number of teachers that are needed each year because of an increase in both disability and gifted. And so that increases the staffing shortages. And then, you know, one of the biggest challenges that we have is staff turnover. When staff go from school to school, it leaves students, it creates a disruption of learning. And so that's one of the items that we would like to work with ATF on. So
I have a follow-up. A lot of concerns over, I'm going to go back to the regular increasing support for students who have been placed in regular or general education classes. So I think I heard you say that there are plans to increase support for regular education, or did I misunderstand?
Yes, Member Dominguez, we have a summer institute plan for both general ed and special ed teachers to support with basic strategies and some behavioral needs that will happen over the summer, and then also plans to continue those supports throughout the school year. And those are not just special ed initiatives, but also initiatives through the chief academic office.
So what about kids who are, again, reports just from the classroom. What about children who need additional, it seems adult supports? Are they even going to be available for their transitioning into general education classes?
Member Dominguez, we are obligated to follow a student's IEP. So if that is what is placed in an IEP, then those supports are made available. But we always follow a student's IEP, and that's the decision of that IEP team.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions related to this presentation? Okay. Thank you. We will go ahead and continue. Thank you for that, Ms. Reiser. So our next item now is to consider approval of the grant budget adjustments for the following funds. We here have the Johnson O'Malley 2024-2025 in the amount of $354,926,000. The school bus cameras for FY25, structured literacy level for up rallies, and Star Base for La Luz. And our presenter for this is Miss Apodaca and Miss Montoya. Over to you, ladies.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm going to pass this over to Mihaela, who has firsthand knowledge of these items. Mihaela?
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, presenting for your consideration of approval, the grant management budget adjustments for the month of March 2025. We have a recurring grant increase allocation for Indian Ed. We have school bus cameras. We brought priorly to your attention the bus funding for approval. These are the cameras that will be installed on those buses. Then we have for the schools that have the structural literacy grant, some funding that will support student incentives to achieve good results in this initiative. We are adding a new school to the Star Base La Luz funding, Los Perdias. And other than that, I do not see anything out of the ordinary, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions related? Okay, I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the February 2025 interfunction transfers for grant budget. And Ms. Apodaca, Ms. Montoya? Yes? Okay, turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, once again, I'll turn it over to Mihaela for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, presenting for your consideration of approval, the interfunction transfers for grant management for February 2025. And I do not see anything out of the ordinary. They are regular budget transfers supporting the grant needs, and I stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marin. Any questions from the committee?
I do have a question.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't get into my into the answers. They might have been answered and posted, but it never hurts to have it on record in the public meeting. So one of my questions has been, a recurring question has been about spend down in grants. And I don't know if you can address this this particular question.
Board member,
Ms. Marin.
yeah.
I can probably, I'm just referencing an analysis we completed recently based on the questions from the board. And just as a general analysis, we have seen an increase in grant spending from fiscal year 24 to the current fiscal year of about 10%. So we are seeing a more effective and level of spending across the grant funding.
Good news.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and do you have, can you explain how we got that 10% increase, that efficiency?
The reason behind that efficiencies are multiple. It cannot be linked to just one initiative. But we overall, I would pinpoint the fact that we are looking at synergistic opportunities between grant fundings. So opportunities to braid funding and spend it more efficiently under one centralized umbrella.
Okay, so I'm hearing that when you say that there are multiple reasons, that there is a systems change going on. Braiding and linking. Did I hear linking correctly?
Yes, ma'am. And I believe Superintendent Dr. Blakey might be able to provide additional details on this.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Board Member Dominguez. If you recall, we created an Office of Federal and State Grants under Dr. Blea, who's just turned on her camera. So Dr. Blea and Ms. Marin work very closely together. And so by creating this office, we have pulled all of the grant funding into one central location so that Dr. Blea is able to really strategize how the funding is used and make sure we're not using duplication of services, and we're using the money to the best strategy that matches meeting our goals. And so she's done a really good job working with the grant department on the finance side to make sure that we're really strategizing in how we're using the funding. And so it's not anymore in departments pieced out, but it's all centralized. So we're able to really be more efficient in how we utilize those grant funds. Dr. Blea, do you have anything else to add to that?
Thank you, Superintendent Blakey, Board Member Dominguez, for your question. It is, just as Dr. Blakey said, I'm echoing, it's very comprehensive and systemic. It's no longer in silos, and so we're able to look at everything comprehensively. We also have internally developed systems to work with schools and departments in communicating what funds they have, where they originally wanted to spend them, if they're not using them, moving them, so on and so forth. So it is more comprehensive, and there's more communication, two-way communication with the departments and schools who are allocated these funds.
And as a follow-up, if I may, what what challenges are you seeing in this systems change that remain to be addressed?
Thank you for that question, Board Member Dominguez. I think that, and we'll address this, I believe, in our presentation moving into another meeting, but really one of the challenges is just shifting from silos or departments to a more comprehensive approach. Schools and departments, to no fault of their own, are used to doing things the way they've always been done. And so working with them to understand the why behind what we're doing and really communicating with them about the process. This is a very technical, logistical part of the work. And so it's even some of the day-to-day interactions they're having with some of the staff who enter requisitions, excuse me, being able to check their balances, manage spending. It's just a very technical part of the work. And so it's not a challenge per se, it's just a shift. And with that shift can sometimes be some difficulty, but we are working through it and everybody is moving with us in the shift. It just takes a little bit of time with such a large district and a large amount of funding.
And yes, that's precisely what the chatter is, right? About the technical pieces and coordinating, I suppose. I'm trying to understand, without getting into the weeds, just trying to understand the big picture. And it seems that there are some technical misunderstandings, perhaps, deadlines. One final question. Once the shifting gets to where it's running, the system is running smoothly, do you anticipate that 10% increase improving, and can you project by how much more we can expect spend down to improve?
Member Dominguez, Madam Chair, and Superintendent Blakey, I don't have an exact answer for you. I will tell you our goal is to make sure that every dollar goes to improve student outcomes. And so any money that's left on the table is not improving student outcomes. So I couldn't commit to any type of number, but I will tell you that's the overall goal. These dollars are precious. I think we all recognize that, especially recently, and we have to make sure that they're going towards the goal of improving student outcomes. So that's ultimately our goal throughout this whole comprehensive process, is to make sure that there's equitable funding that reaches our students so that we can remove that barrier for schools and departments. And so I apologize for not giving you an exact answer, but our goal is to increase it and to leave almost nothing on the table, understanding that we have to spend responsibly.
Appreciate your answer and your systems approach to this, your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to actually echo that we talked about making some adjustments and corrections in the past, and to see the finance team actually take those suggestions and make those improvements, because I do believe our system is running smoothly and spending has been effective to ensure that we are not having, you know, extra that is not going back into the classroom. So finance team, I appreciate what you're doing. I know you guys gave an extensive presentation on this last time, and I just want to ensure that, you know, we are actually doing what we're supposed to do with the spending and not having a surplus, you know, that was left over. So we will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the February 2025 intra-function transfers of grant budget. And Ms. Marin, I'll turn it to you. I got it.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey, presenting for your consideration of approval the grant management intra-function transfers for February 2025. The most notable transfers are salary alignments for pre-K. They're ongoing throughout the year. You've seen them and you'll see them again. We received the final charter allocations for the Carl Perkins grant funding, and you see us taking steps to complete that alignment. And then we are closing Fund 29131 for New Mexico Department of Health and doing final closing entries. Other than that, nothing out of the ordinary, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on this item?
Quick question. What plans are in place to deal with the dismantling of the Department of Education specific to the grants that we receive? The Title I funding? If anything, sorry, I feel like it needs to be asked.
Board Member Benavides and I can defer to Dr. Blea too. She's working a lot on this. At this time, we haven't had any decrease to the funds from the federal level, so we're keeping an eye on it and working with colleagues across multiple districts in making sure that we kind of are aware of what's going on. Whether the amount of money stays the same or not is one thing, and the other thing is if it goes into a different department. So if it doesn't go through the Department of Education, what department is it going through? And how do the funds go through the state? So what we're really trying to work on is making sure that the State Department is able to take on this role in distributing the funds. And that's where some of our concern is, just the amount of money that's going to come quickly to the state level, and whether or not we're able to really coordinate that through the state to the districts. And so we're kind of keeping an eye on it. At this time, we don't have any word on any funds being cut at this point because the budget hasn't been passed. We've been working with our congressional delegation to make sure that they understand the importance of how the federal funds are used, and that they're able to support that in any cuts. So it's kind of like twofold. One is cuts, and then one is the change in the distribution of how the monies are going to come to us. And we're concerned about both, but primarily at the state level, we want to make sure that we're able to access those funds and it doesn't get tied up in not being able to access them as quickly. Dr. Blea, do you have anything to add? I know you're working on this.
Thank you, Member Benavides, for the question. Superintendent Blakey, I echo everything that she said. Additionally, we're planning. So it's various scenarios and it's hard to anticipate what's going to happen, but we're planning. And as we do in every budget cycle, we're prioritizing. So if plan A were to happen, what would that look like for this prioritization? If plan B happens, what would this look like? So it is a chess game, and it's a guessing game. We are working hand in hand with our partners at the PED as well as the congressional delegation, just because we want to make sure if one person receives information that's shared with everyone. So I just want to emphasize, we're planning, we're prioritizing, and we're working with our partners, but without anything specific. And again, as Dr. Blakey said, right now, there's nothing specific to say that we're not receiving funds. That's the best that we can do at this point. But I do want to reassure you that there are plans in place. We just have to wait and see what drops.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for that, Dr. Blay and Dr. Blakey. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the February 2025 interfunction transfers for all non-categorical funds. And for this, I will turn it over to Ms. Hicks. I saw you pop on, or Ms. Montoya? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey, this agenda item requests your approval of 8 interfunction budget transfers in the operational fund totaling $291,000. 1 out of the 8 transfers uses at-risk funds, 1 uses bilingual funds, 1 uses at-risk and general funds, and the remaining 5 use general funds. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay. Thank you. I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the February 25 intra-function transfers for all non-categorical funds. And Ms. Hicks, back to you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey, this agenda item requests your approval of intra-function budget transfers for all non-categorical funds totaling $13.5 million in operational funds, $111,000 in transportation funds, $12,000 in facility enterprise funds, and $10.7 million in capital funds. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? I see none. Thank you, Ms. Hicks, for that. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of statement of equipment to be taken out of service, and this is for January 1st through February 28, 2025. And our presenter for this is Mr. Allison. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I am presenting for your approval. It is to consider our statement of equipment to be taken out from January 1st through February 28th of 2025. The attached documentation we submitted identifies the equipment and furniture to be taken out of service from January through February of 2025 to be disposed in accordance with our New Mexico state statute. The technology department in the amount of $6,360,529.22, and the salvage department in the amount of $802,926.62. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of statement of portables now to be taken out of service, and this is from March 1st through the 31st. And Mr. Allison, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board and Superintendent Blakey, I am presenting it for your consideration of approval for our statement of portables to be taken out of service from March 1st through the 31st of 2025. The attached documentation we submitted identifies the portables in March of 2025 to be disposed in accordance with the New Mexico state statute. And again, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consideration of the approval of gifts, grants, and donations for more than $5,000. Our presenter for this is Mr. Turnbull. Over to you, sir.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey, again, submit for your approval 3 donations. The first donation is $15,000 to Valley High School from Michael and Judy Johnson. This is to support the needs of the baseball program there. Next donation is $9,000 to Volcano Vista High School from the Volcano Vista High School Baseball Booster Club. This is for assistant coaches. And the final donation is $6,000 to West Mesa High School from Educators Rising New Mexico. And this is support activities related to the next generation of qualified teachers. With that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the request for proposal for the amount of $20,499,000. This is submitted by Bradbury Stam Construction for Taylor Middle School. And I will turn this over to Associate Superintendent Mr. Hawkes.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent Blakey. We bring before you today a consideration for approval for an RFP in the amount of $20,499,000 submitted by Bradbury Stam Construction for Taylor Middle School Phase A, and granting signatory authority of all necessary easements and infrastructure to the board president and secretary. And with that, Madam Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. And I apologize. I said Associate Deputy Superintendent.
No worries, Madam.
The work level changes. So, so with that, I'll open up for questions to the committee.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Member Dominguez.
I just heard, good morning, Mr. Hawkes.
Good morning.
I just heard Phase A. This is funding Phase A of the total project. And so how many phases are there?
I believe, Madam Chair, Member Dominguez, there are two phases. Phase A will be partial demolition of the existing main school building, and it will be replaced with the two-story addition, which will include the administration, health office, counseling suite, library, multimedia center, performing arts classroom, and an art classroom, and also an outdoor dining courtyard and outdoor classroom. Phase 2, I believe, is a classroom wing that will be added.
And so will that be an additional, I don't know, 20 million or more? When we get there?
Madam Chair, Member Dominguez, I'll ask Karen Allered to jump on it to answer that question. I don't know I don't have an estimate.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a hard question to answer because we continue to see price increases in construction. It's not going to be less than 20 million, but it'll probably be something above 20 million, especially when you consider the timeline on when we might get to that set.
So what is, and so what has been budgeted for Phase B, or does it work that way? Does the system work that way?
Oh, excuse me. We haven't budgeted yet, but we are planning on putting it in the next bond election. So we'll have a better idea about what we budget for when we bring that to the board, the whole bond package for 2020.
Okay. And forgive me, but I cannot seem to, without putting more than 15 minutes or 20 minutes into it, how would I find, like, I'm trying to compare what we approved, and I don't remember what meeting this was in, what we approved for the, and maybe we didn't approve it, but I could have sworn we did, construction costs for, what have we allocated for the Coronado K-8 construction project?
So, Madam Chair, Member Dominguez, so we have not, we're working through our process now in prepping schools. What we're talking about currently doing is just looking at age appropriate modifications to the facility. And that's what we've talked about throughout our presentation. So really looking at what that looks like. Things such as adjusting, restrooms to meet the age appropriateness for the students that will be coming in. Also looking at possible playgrounds that are age appropriate for our students there. So it's really minor in the scope of what we're doing, and more of a remodel or update to meet that age appropriateness, not necessarily new construction. We're also looking at pickup and drop off after our traffic studies are complete, which are currently in play right now, will give us a little bit more information as well.
And Board Member Dominguez, this is just a reminder. I think Ms. Allred kind of talked about it, but this particular construction on Taylor is from the previous bond. So this has been in play for quite a while. It was on the previous bond package 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I've lost track of time.
2021.
Thank you, Karen. So it's from the bond package that was approved in 2021.
And so follow up, one last question. How does the budget or does the budget accommodate expediting? Is there any wiggle room for expediting construction at Taylor, given that it's about to increase in enrollment? I think double, possibly.
So yes, so that's why from 2021, when this was part of the bond package, it was the right sizing is a multi-year initiative. So there's always been in the plans how to time the construction with the increase of enrollment. And so that's been in play for the past 5 or so years as we've looked at right sizing. So the current construction plans for Taylor were with the understanding that that school is going to be bigger based on right sizing.
Okay. So, but no, I mean.
That's why the timing for this the timing was aligned to the construction. So I think we first approached the right sizing of the North Valley schools a couple of years ago, but it wasn't ready yet because we have to wait for the construction of Taylor, which is where we are today now, in being able to construct it at the same time that we're phasing more students in.
It just seems like a big project while I'm looking at this like from a mother, grandmother, teacher managing all those kids while in preparation or while all this movement is happening. And the sooner we can get that settled, the sooner the kids will get settled. So yes. I guess that's and ultimately this is about student outcomes. So just looking for a ray of hope that this construction project can be moved along quickly. But I don't know, you all are the experts in managing and spinning plates to that effect.
Yes,
Madam Chair,
the school, the school's the whole school isn't under construction, so it's not a complete rebuild of a school like you would see at Arroyo or Sandia Base where we're redoing the entire school. These are phased in, so there's enough room to, certainly construction is a inconvenience during the time, but it's well worth it in the end. Most schools have said that. So Cochiti is another example of a school that we consolidated. They were under construction at the same time. They've now reopened their additional classroom block. So that principal has also, can talk to the principal of Taylor to talk about how the consolidation of schools during construction works. But it is inconvenient during construction time at any school. But we also don't want to just wait. If we did construction only for 2 months every summer on projects, we would never finish anything. So Ms. Allred and her team do a good job in communicating with the school and showing the phases of where we have students moving during construction time throughout the whole process. So they do walk hand in hand with the school during the phases, and they adjust if the school is saying, well, we need to wait in this area so they, the construction managers do a good job in working with the principal if they need to make any adjustments along the way.
And just to add to that, we have been planning this for a long, long time. So we've remodeled portables so that we can relocate people. We've got the area that's going to be demolished and under construction completely cleared out now. We've worked with the principal in order to have safe walking routes for all the students. And we continue to check that as we go. And just to give further assurance, Bradbury STAM has done a lot of projects for us on active campuses. So they're very familiar with this, and, you know, the kids' safety is always foremost, and, you know, if we need to make adjustments, we can do that.
Thank you for that report and those reassurances.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the district purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is for paving and related work materials on call. And Mr. Hawkins, I will turn it back to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey. This item is to consider approval of a district purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000 for paving and related work materials on call, and we stand for any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir. We'll continue on. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000. This one is for facility maintenance, repair, operation, and industrial supplies. And Mr. Hawkins, back to you.
Madam Chair, we're here for consideration of approval of district purchase expenditure that exceeds $500,000 for facility maintenance, repair, operation, and industrial supplies. And with that, Madam Chair, we stand for any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions on this item? Okay, I see none. We will continue. Thank you. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is for legal services as needed. And our presenter for this is Ms. Chensler, I believe, or Mr. Torgerson?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, and I apologize, my camera's not working. So good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I'm requesting approval for legal support services. This is based upon an RFP that was issued as a procurement method for 4 years with an estimated spend of $15 million using capital, federal, and operational funds. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, thank you for that. Let's continue. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is now for pest control services. And Mr. Hawkins, or Ms. Gensler, yes, I will turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee and Superintendent Blakey, again, this is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditure that exceeds or equals $500,000 for pest control services. And with that, we stand for any questions you all may have.
Thank you. We need that service. Members of the committee, any questions? I see none. Thank you. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is now for E-rate category 2 cabling for school move adds and changes, including granting signature authority to the board president and secretary for all necessary documents needed to complete the E-rate work. And Mr. Hawkins, I will turn this over to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, and Superintendent Blakey. So again, we're asking for consideration of a district purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds, as you stated, $500,000 for E-rate category 2 cabling for school moves, adds, and changes, including granting signature authority to board president and secretary for all necessary documents needed to complete the E-rate work. And I believe this is also for some updating of some cabling and infrastructure for our district. So with that, ma'am, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Our next item is to consider approval of the February 2025 cash disbursements. And our presenter for this is Ms. Gensler.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I'm requesting approval for the February 2025 cash disbursements. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, thank you. I see none. So here we are. Let's see. Our next item now is to consider recommending consent agenda board approval for items discussed during the March 26, 2025 Finance Committee meeting, which include the grant budget adjustments, the February 25 grant and budget inter and interfunction transfers, equipment to be taken out of service, portables to be taken out of service, consideration for approvals of gifts, grants, and donations, and request for proposal in the amount of $20,499,000 district purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000. And this includes paving and related work materials on call, facilities maintenance, repair, operation, and industrial supplies, legal services as needed, pest control services, E-rate category 2 cabling for school move ads and changes, including granting signature authority. And finally, the February 2025 cash disbursements. May I have a motion and a second, please?
A motion to recommend the consent agenda as listed by Chair Tapia Romero for board approval of items discussed on March 26, 2025 in the Finance Committee meeting.
And I will second. This is Board Member Benavides.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Our next Finance Committee meeting will be April 23rd, 2025 at 8 a.m. virtually, or you can watch on the APS Board of Education YouTube channel. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.